Tiny Tarot, hey, what have you got to say today? I am Low-Key Magical, aka Christina Smart, and I am here today with my sassy little deck of tarot cards to ask the hard questions, the pertinent questions, the questions that are on everyone's mind, with our wonderful little set of tarot cards. It always gives us ridiculously straight answers. It's fantastic. And this is episode number 29, and it is all about money and finances. This is, excuse my tongue, another one of those topics that come up in tarot reads so often. And I say that I realize that we can't win the lottery every week, but some tarot reads that I watch say that every week. Oh, you're going to win the lottery this week. This is going to be such a great week for you. And we realize those are a little bit pie in the sky wishes. And even though I love granting wishes, we are going to ask Tiny Tarot today some advice about money and finances, how to attract more money, our attitudes towards money, the way that money is presented to us in media, how to be realistic about money, but overall, how to relax, because we know with the law of attraction, when you relax about a subject, it is more likely to give you answers and help you flow what you want towards you. So, before we continue, I want to remind you what platforms you can find Tiny Tarot on, and those platforms are Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course these long form reads on YouTube. And thank you so much for being here. My audience, even though it may not be gigantic, has stuck with me through thick and thin, and I appreciate that so much. It's like we have a little secret tarot club right now. I love it. So thank you for joining the little secret tarot club. Tiny Tarot says thanks. And I have, as I usually do, pre-shuffled the cards and divided them into 3 stacks, and we're going to use our wonderful little die here to determine which stack to use today. So Tiny Tarot, hey, we're going to ask for the best message on money and finances today. And we come up with stack number 1. Excellent. So we start with our current position. And in our current position, this is pretty awesome. This has come up in our current position before. We have the 3 of Cups. I'm hoping that that focuses there. If not, we've got a graphic for you. And the 3 of Cups, I'm going to say it again, is about celebratory energy. It's about that feeling of the best friend that you call anytime that you have something really good happen to you. It is a magical number that builds on itself, 3, 6, 9. And the cups represent our heart. And usually when we have this come up in the current position, it is a reminder to appreciate what you currently have. And that doesn't mean to sit with a list and do gratitude work. Gratitude work does not feel the same as really appreciating what you currently have. And I will tell you, I like to watch survival series on television. That's just one of the things that I like. I like seeing someone in the woods making the most that they can with nothing. And that is a show that 100% makes me appreciate the things that I currently have, like running water and a refrigerator with food in it, and the ability to press a button on my phone and get something delicious delivered to me. So in this current position, it's not a scolding energy that Tiny Tarot is giving us, not at all. It's more, let's look at what we have to celebrate right now that may not just be money in the wallet. Our wealth can be defined as so many things. And one of those things is cooperation. This is not only a card of celebration, but it's a card of that natural energy of just vibing and cooperation. And a lot of us have that in our lives, whether it has to do with family support that you currently have, friend support that you currently have, spousal support, close relationship support that you currently have. That is also a form of wealth. So Tiny Tarot says first, let's look around and redefine some of the things that we have not considered as wealth up to this point. We may only think of money when we think of our wealth, but there is so much more to it than that. I look at the plants that I have behind me here. I have a wealth of plants. I love to grow plants and I propagate. So even though I have started out with just a few, no matter where I go, when I move, I have more and more plants because I continue to grow them and I give them as gifts. And that makes me feel wealthy with the plants that I have. I have a lot of artwork. I'm an artist as well, and this is a piece of mine up here. And I enjoy sharing my artwork. Having a canvas printed and giving it as a gift makes me feel wealthy. This is something that I did. It didn't exist before I created it. So that feels like a wealth. Creativity feels like a source of wealth. Again, even if it's not, oh, you're not selling your pictures for $500 a piece. No, I'm not. But they have a different worth to me than the cash that might be put in my pocket if I sold one. I have friendships that make me feel so wealthy. I have relationships with my children that make me feel so prosperous and wealthy in different ways. Everyone always says, oh, children are so expensive. It's so expensive to have children. Well, yes, if you're only looking at the money aspect, it is a little bit expensive to have children, of course. But the love that you get and how those relationships grow and change over time, there's a wealth there that you can't put a price on that. So this feels like a very important lesson. It isn't just about the money in your pocket that makes you feel wealthy. And if you are only allowing your bank balance to determine how you feel about wealth, then you're going to shortchange yourself every single time. And you don't know how many stories I have heard about wealthy people that do have so much money that feel hollow and empty on the inside because they refuse to really look at other forms of wealth in their life. They're only comparing themselves. A millionaire that compares himself to a billionaire is going to still feel poor until you look at everything else in your life that equals that wealth. You could have $1 million and be miserable and alone, and I guarantee you, you're not going to feel wealthy on the inside. This is about cultivating how to see wealth in relationships and in whatever life you have currently built. And I guarantee if you look and start redefining some things in your life, you will feel that natural wealth in your heart as you move forward. That's excellent, Tiny Tarot. I love that. And the crossing energy is the Two of Pentacles. And of course, the Pentacles are the what we define as money in tarot. It's earthly energy. It's what we do our work. You know, you do the work with the wands. It's what we do the work for. And the crossing energy here is about balance. And if you look at this card, he has 2 pentacles in his hand. They are surrounded by the infinity symbol there. And then behind him, there is some choppy, wavy water in the background. And this is about maintaining balance, even in an atmosphere that looks choppy and wavy. And this is our crossing energy. So this is what we're kind of bumping up against right now. And this message that I get is, how do you maintain that wealthy cultivation, that feeling cultivation that we just talked about, when everything is telling you, especially if you're on your phone a lot, when everything is telling you that it's bad. Oh, it's bad. Everybody's poor. Groceries are expensive. Eggs are expensive. No one has any money. Wall Street is panicking. Wall Street is always panicking, first of all. I had a great experience where I watched a documentary about, specifically, it was about the band Led Zeppelin. And they were showing how that band formed and how they became successful. But they were also cutting in a lot of news footage and newspaper clippings and current events that were happening at that time. And darned if it didn't look so much like it looks right now. It's like you just could have dropped that same story of war and riots and protests and, you know, conflict and politics. You could have just moved it to right now and it would have been pretty much exactly the same, except that it was a little blurry because this wasn't in high definition as we have now, which makes it worse. We have all of these same terrible messages coming at us, but now they're in high definition, and we have it where it just comes in all the time, and we're using it as our entertainment. Do not let the rectangle determine your experience of wealth. If you just constantly have negativity coming in, you are not going to be able to find those thoughts and those feelings that help to bring you that balance that we're talking about here. So I'm not saying that you have to ignore the world and put your head in a hole, but do not let those words that are coming in dictate your internal state, because you will be like those waves, up one day and down another, up one day and down another, angry at some other political party, angry at some other social class, angry, angry, angry. And that's not the energy of money attraction. If you are blaming a group of people, a person, a system for your lack of wealth, that is something outside of you that you literally have no control over. What do you have control over? That cup, that full cup, where you look around and say, yes, I do have love in my life. I have wealth in so many other aspects. I have wealth in other parts of, what do I want to say here? Tiny Tarot, help me out. How else have I created wealth in my life that may not be defined by cash? When you really look at that and then you decide that's where I balance. It doesn't have to be, I have to balance the entire world. I just have to balance my internal view, and then I do not feel that lack, and therefore I do not continue to create situations that make me feel more lack. It doesn't have to be magical, that, oh, I changed my mind, I appeased something. We get stuck in that because of those religious teachings that we've received. Oh, I've got to think a certain way and appease something in order to make this construct bring me more money. No, you have been making decisions based on a feeling of lack. And that turns into desperation, and you never make good decisions, financial or otherwise, from a place of fearfulness, a place of lack, a place of desperation. And that is one of the things that this rectangle tends to, that's one of the states that it tends to put you into mentally, is desperation. How can I change this? How can I change something that seems so big and so out of control? No, we're just going to focus on how we feel here, not how the world defines wealth, how we define wealth, not how the world is encouraging us to balance, but how we choose to balance internally. Fantastic. That's pretty good. And then our shadow that comes in is the Chariot. And the Chariot is about fast movement. If you see the individual upon the Chariot there, he's being carried by two different Sphinx. And one is white and one is black. And in tarot, anytime you see those juxtapositions that way, it's going to be a balance between chaos and order. And the best way that I define the Chariot to get that energy is when you give a teenager, or a teenager gets their driver's license, and they are just hot and heavy to get out and drive. A little bit reckless, they don't care. They just want the energy to move for them. They want to be out in the world, being an adult. They'll volunteer to go get groceries, whatever. I just want to be in the car and I want to go. And I want to exert my independence and have control over where I'm going. So our shadow is saying, be patient about the process. You don't sit in meditation and calm your heart and then expect, again, to win the lottery the next day. That's not how the energy of the world moves. It's about those little micro decisions that you make in life that moves you towards what you want. And it is more about the feeling, getting to a place of peace, getting to a place of feeling abundant, even more than it is the money showing up. Honestly, because would you rather be miserable every day until your finances get better? That's when you make desperate decisions. That's when someone can take advantage of you with a pyramid scheme or a multi-level marketing scheme or whatever it is that you think, maybe this will be the magical thing that changes everything for me tomorrow. Because that Chariot is our impatience. We want to go fast. We want to be rich now. We want to feel abundant yesterday. I want my bills paid. I do not want to feel like someone is constantly on my heels, and the moment that I have money in my account, it is all sucked out immediately. The shadow here says, this takes some time. Now, you could change exactly how you feel tomorrow. You really could, but just understand that it takes time for your actions to catch up with your internal feeling, to catch up with your internal motivation, with your change of the view of the world. And the message I get is it's a lot like weight loss. That's something I have a lot of experience with. I was extremely overweight for a large period of my life, and when I did buckle down and decide it was truly time to make that change, I knew I wasn't going to wake up 160 pounds lighter the next day. I was ready for a hard climb. But I had to be happy about that and find ways to do that hard climb every day, make it not so hard in my mind, make it not a punishment in my mind, make it almost a privilege that I could get up, exercise, eat good food, see changes come at me. And it did, after time passed, feel like I turned around and I was just a whole lot lighter. All of a sudden people were giving me compliments. All of a sudden my pants were really loose and I had to go buy a new wardrobe. This is the same thing. Changing how you feel internally leads to different action, leads to time passes, leads to you are on a new trajectory than you were before. So the shadow says, relax, okay? You know what work you need to do. Relax and let what is meant to happen happen. Let what you are creating come to you, because if you insist on it being tomorrow, you're going to be once again in a constant state of disappointment. That's excellent, Tiny Tarot. Now, let's look at our assisting energy here, and we have the Emperor. I like that. The Emperor is like a very stern and knowledgeable father figure, like the father figure of tarot. And this is someone that has absolute, because we've talked about the Emperor before, absolute sovereignty. And what does sovereignty mean? That you have complete control over your own feelings and the actions that you take. No one can tell you differently when you really do make that decision and you understand it. You may say, well, I have a job and I don't have choices in my job, and I have a family and I don't have choices in my family. That is you placing energy outside of yourself, the energy of control outside of yourself. When you take some time, like we talked about, to build that vision of wealth around yourself, what wealth truly is, and you start making the decisions from that place, you realize rather quickly that you cannot change how other people behave, what they say, any of that. Those attitudes are not yours to change. Where you have control is here within yourself. The Emperor understands that. The Emperor is complete in his knowledge of his self-accountability and his ability to make decisions, and that what he says is what he creates and brings back to him. It's a very powerful card. And the stern father figure that I think of, if you know a household with a loving but stern father that insists on everyone around him following the rules, that's the way that you've got to be with your wealth mindset and how you control your finances. This is your wallet. You're going to control where it goes. You have what I would call self-discipline with this card, okay? So self-discipline is not only in, well, I'm not going to buy a latte every day anymore. Maybe you know there are times when you are spending money and you say to yourself, this probably wasn't the best idea. Now, the ability to spend and use your money wisely gets more powerful when you have set these parameters in place. And if I do pause, please remember I'm getting channeled from Tiny Tarot here. So when you have already set parameters and definitions firmly in place, and you know that this is not a fast game, we're playing the long game here, then the emperor can sit back and know that these decisions that he's making are in the direction of his goals, okay? And he can insist around him that that's the way things are going to be. This is my reality, and in my reality, I create wealth. Whatever I touch grows. Whatever I touch creates value. Whatever I touch is beautiful, and I love my beautiful surroundings. That includes my loving family. That includes the goals that I set for myself. Therefore, when the rubber hits the road and I am in a place that I am tempted by a pyramid scheme, a multi-level marketing scheme, or some habit that I have been able to look at and say, wow, that's really not working in my favor. The emperor has the energy and the parameters in place to say that does not fit the mold that I have set. That does not match what I have envisioned for myself. You no longer need self-discipline at that point. You can go, oh yeah, I'm going to say no to that with no effort whatsoever. Exactly the same with weight loss. When I had a goal in mind and I was feeling better and I knew that what I was doing was working and I refused to go back to being unhealthy again, saying no to unhealthy offerings was no longer a real challenge. Getting to the gym was no longer a real challenge because I understood these are necessary steps. They're starting to feel good to me because I know where they're going. I love the compliments. I love the new clothes. I love being able to ride a ride without feeling like, like you go to an amusement park or a fair and you can't put that safety belt on anymore. That's a terrible feeling. If you really want to do something with your family and you've spent all your money on something ridiculous that's gone now, that's a terrible feeling. The emperor understands where he's going and what he has built, has value for that, respects it, so that when those temptations, that's the word I was looking for, when those temptations come that are outside of what you have defined as wanted, they're no longer a temptation. It's a very obvious roadblock. It's a very obvious speed bump. And you start feeling a little differently towards the people that are insisting that you take those speed bumps, that you take those roadblocks, that you eat that cheesecake or whatever it is, that you spend a lot of money on a vacation that you realize you're not going to enjoy because it'll be with people you don't even like. Like those kind of things, you start looking at them and going, why are you even offering me that? You know better. You know that I have goals in place. I'm the emperor. Be gone. Like that's exactly how that works. Be gone. And it's effortless to you because you've already put the parameters in place. I love that. That is a wonderful assisting energy. Visualize yourself as that stern father that can say, nope, my household, my kingdom, this is how it's going to go. I don't have to be mean about it, but I've got a plan in place. And my plan is that I am wealthy from head to toe. That includes my wallet. But maybe at this point, it includes everything else besides that, but I know that it's going to fall into place because I say so. I love that. All right, so our resisting energy here. Oh, so, God, Tiny Tarot is on it. The resisting energy is the Four of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles is, sometimes we call this the stingy guy. And the Four of Pentacles is, I have enough, but it is just enough. One missed paycheck and I am going under. One tooth, if I have to have a tooth out, if I have to have any dental work, I can't do both getting my oil changed and getting new tires in the same month. It is, I have enough to stay alive, but I do not have enough to thrive. So the resisting energy is that constant fear. And we know, again, that this little device often puts us in that state so that we could wake up feeling pretty good about ourselves. But by the time we've scrolled, we see people with more than us. We see reports that things are always going to be bad. We just get a lot of outside influence. Maybe you have that friend that just likes to call you and complain all the time, and you could be feeling pretty good, but then that friend gets in your ear, or friends, or whoever the family members are, and by the end of the day, once again, you're like, oh, This is never going to be what I want it to be. That is a resisting energy that we are working past. And especially when you put this together with the Chariot, I want it to change, but I want it to change tomorrow. And I don't want to do anything different than I've already done. Just like with so many things in our life, we have to look at, yes, I have enough, and that is a blessing. Yes, I can get my oil changed now, and I'm going to have to get tires later, but I can do that. I can buy one tire at a time if I need to. And when you have a real need in place and you know that that's coming, you can make those better decisions. You can be like the emperor and say, no, I'm going to forego a giant meal out where it's way too expensive and I feel like I'm being put at a disadvantage by having to be, maybe you've been invited to things where other people don't really have knowledge of your finances and you don't want to say, hey, I don't really have the money to do that. But again, the emperor knows he has something coming up and can just make the excuse. You don't have to say, I don't have enough money to do that right now. You can say, we have other things to do currently. I am doing more cooking at home. Thank you very much. I've decided that my family, like these are things you can say. I've decided that my family doesn't really need to be eating out at restaurants anymore. It's so unhealthy, but thank you for the invite. Okay, can we find something to do that does not involve spending a lot of money today? Can we go to the park? Can we go to a museum? Can we find, there are still things out there. I know it's tough to find anything that does not require you to swipe a card to have a good time. But there are so many things. I got really creative when my children were small. We learned about the library. We learned about the museums. Like I said, we learned about even going to some places that just offer samples. Like there's a certain club store around us that on certain days they have so many samples available. And I would just walk in knowing if I have to make a purchase, it's going to be here. But I am going to take advantage of what's being offered to me. And I'm going to feel full by the time I leave. So will my kids. And we will have a wonderful day together. We're going to go to the library where we can see so much wealth in terms of knowledge, books, media in front of us. And all we have to do is show them who we are, let them know where we live, and we can take these things home and take care of them and then bring them back, because it doesn't always have to be, I own this, okay? We can, if you are shopping, we can thrift. There's so many objects out there that are unwanted that we do not have to always focus on new. There are so many ways to get around or to make alternative choices than what we have been encouraged to make up to this point. I did have a friend that would always turn her nose up at the idea of thrifting. I don't like old things. Well, you don't have to buy old things. I enjoy antique things. Check out my old phone here. I enjoy decorating with things that have been repurposed. That's just something I enjoy. And you don't have to feel guilty about it. When my friend would do that to me, part of me would want to push back and go, why do you think you're better than everybody else? It doesn't have to be like that, because maybe commenting like that puts you back in that Four of Pentacles. You're defensive about the fact that you are making choices. The Emperor is not defensive about the choices that he's making, all right? He can proudly say, well, in our household, we like to save the planet, and in that sense, we don't want more clothing being produced than what is necessary. So if somebody doesn't want a pair of jeans, right? It doesn't always have to be about money. You can find so many other ways that you are expressing that desire for wealth. I want the wealth of the planet to continue, and therefore I am not really big on the continuation of manufacturing plastic and wasteful things. So no, I'm not going to go to the dollar bin to get my kids a toy that we're just going to throw into the bottom of the toy box where it becomes plastic sludge over time. We're not going to do that. We're going to go find something that's been gently used or loved. We're going to sew something. We're going to create something on our own. All of these little emperor type choices lead us back into that feeling of wealth. Fantastic. And we do not have to buy into the resisting energy of it's always going to be tight. It's always going to be miserable. I'm always going to have just barely enough. You can thrive. You can absolutely thrive and foster the energy of the Emperor. And in our future position, ooh, we have that Queen of Cups energy. Oh, I love this. The Queen has the cup. Do you see that? And it's a big and elaborate cup in this particular artwork. It's not the original little chalice that we have with the Ace of Cups. The Queen has grown that heart into something beautiful, fantastic, that has incredible wealth within it. And she insists that that cup be respected. And so we started with our Three of Cups and we wound up at the end with our Queen of Cups. And this is what I always say now in our future, when we say this future, this is like a weather forecast, okay? With the current energy and where we are now, this is what we can expect next. And again, it isn't I turn around and I won the lottery the next day because I appeased some energy. It isn't like that. The Queen has taken this throne by right, and she insists that this cup that she has built to be so beautiful and so ornate and so valuable, she insists that it is respected 100%. She respects her own heart, and she insists that it be respected by those around her. It is like the Emperor energy, but in the soft-hearted, more of a feminine aspect. And again, like having a wonderful, warm household where people feel welcome. And when they step into your energy, when they step into your household, when they come near your being, there's no longer a desire for them to impede her goals. There's no longer a desire for someone to say, well, that's not the way that I do it. There's no longer a desire for someone to come in and try to fool you into something. This Queen of Cups is respected, and I love that. And she has respect for her own heart, for her own intentions. She treats the things that she loves with reverence. And it doesn't have to be the things that everyone else loves. It doesn't have to be the way that everyone else does it. In fact, in order to be wealthy, I would say, in the current environment, you have to do things differently. You have to cultivate your own path, because the well-worn paths that we're seeing right now are what have led us to this place in the first place. The keeping up with the Joneses, the taking financial advice from people in finances that are trying to get money out of your pocket. Where have you even learned all of this information from? Not everyone has been working in our favor. In our society, it's all been about how much money can I suck out of your wallet and how quickly, while you feel a little bit blind to it. People not really understanding how interest works and how high the interest rates are on credit cards, and the desire to know your credit score is so that they can sell you more things on credit. People don't really understand the way that that works, so we start doing things differently. And the Queen has done things so differently that she has a beautiful ornate cup that doesn't even look like anyone else's. It's hers, and it's beautiful, and it's valuable. It's coveted in a way. So when you really have built something important and you know what your goals are, and you have created this wonderful energy around you of, I know exactly what next step I'm taking. I have goals in mind. I honor my own heart, okay? And I do not make decisions that are not in alignment with my goals. People around you are like, how do you do that? How do you say no to this? How do you continue to have this self-discipline that other people are struggling for? Well, baby, I built it. Like, that's exactly what she's saying. And by the way, don't break it down. You honor that. You honor that in my household. Oh, that's fantastic. Absolutely, Tiny Tarot. That's where we want to be. So we start with understanding the Three of Cups, what wealth we currently have right in our lap, and how we define that wealth. We move to the crossing energy with the Two of Pentacles. How do I maintain this balance of my internal versus the external world against me when the waters are so choppy, with some self-discipline. How do we, like with the chariot, not get impatient and say everything needs to change right this minute when we know that the energy is an ebb and a flow? It's a balance between chaos and order. We cultivate inner patience and then allow the world to catch up with us, because our experience will change as we change our internal state. And then the emperor comes in to assist that, because I said so. Because I am the creator of my own reality, because I do not rely on outside noise to tell me what I need to think and feel, because this is my household, this is my heart. And the resisting energy, we know, is that feeling of, oh man, this might never change and this is all I'm ever going to have and I barely have enough and I've got to be stingy. No, that's a resisting energy that we've had. We're letting that go, because we know that the flow of energy is always there. We can always take a breath. There is plenty of oxygen for us every day. We don't have to worry that, oh, the next breath I take isn't going to be there. Yes, it is. Absolutely. And then in our future, we have the Queen of Cups, who honors her own heart, who honors what she has built, who honors the uniqueness of what she has created, knowing that it takes that desire to be different, to be unique, to not take the well-trodden path of thought, to not just fall into the influence of what every media outlet is telling us to feel. That's how you cultivate what's really important to you, and you learn to hold it. You don't have to spill it. It is respected. Fantastic. That's how we move forward, with a feeling of wealth. Tiny Tarot says it. I am Low-Key Magical with a K. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a magical rest of your day.